Into the second half of the 7 o'clock hour here. We do continue with the 7th day of July 2023 morning at NTV. Into our Tech Note, I am Priscilla Regina Naloga. Once again, good morning to you. In our Tech Note, we're going to be focusing on easing access to credit bureau services. The backbone of it being a credit bureau collects data on your borrowing history from lenders to create a credit report and a credit score, both of which are used by prospective lenders and other groups when assessing your credit worthiness. We seek to understand this business with Mr. Kabenge, who's the head of alternative data, and that is with a company called gnuGrid, to shine a light on this and give us perspective into exactly where it comes into in terms of credit and the economy by and large. Mr. Kabenge, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Priscilla. Morning once again.
Good morning to you.
Morning, viewers.
Okay, so first give us a better background and understanding of credit bureau business. What is it?
The credit bureau business is a business in which we take customer data. Of course, this is legally, and we use this data to come up with meaningful profiles against which lenders can make more informed decisions. Yeah. So against these profiles, customers are able to access our credit. And our focus is mainly the last mile, and those are tier 4 institutions, the likes of SACCOs, digital lenders, people who facilitate the day-to-day lives of the day-to-day Ugandan. Yes.
So when it comes to subscription of the SACCOs and those tier level that you've mentioned about, how do you interest them into this?
With SACCOs, we mainly approach them through various bodies and various linkages that we have developed over time, and we get them to understand how they can collect this information, get consent from their customers to provide this information to companies like gnuGrid, and for us to in turn use this information to serve them with the scores that they will use to make those decisions to lend the borrowers. And this also helps them reduce the interest rates, because if it's cheaper for me to lend to you and collect from you, then I'm going to reduce the cost of service to you. Okay,
yes. All right. So I hear three parties actually. Yes. Your business, yes, and then the SACCO, and then the end user. So yes, help me understand how important is a good credit report, and who is it intended to target, the end user or the SACCO in this case?
I would say it's meant for everyone in society, because having a good financial health opens up everyone, and not only it doesn't only help the creditor provider, it also helps the consumer. Like I said, if I have a good financial record, I can access more money. Yes, I can access money from credible providers. I can access money at a cheaper cost. Then also for the credit provider, the SACCO, the digital lender, they can take this information and help their business models operate in a more sustainable way, because they now know who they are working with from a data aspect. We do not tell them, oh, this is Priscilla. No. We simply tell them, oh, this profile can pay back. This profile is credible.
Okay, yes. All right. This brings in the question of privacy. When you're doing this business, of course, you need the consent of yes, the players at the end of the day. So how do you actually get that consent? And in terms of privacy, given some entities, you do have individuals who say cooperatives are concerned when it comes to retaining the rights of data.
Yes. One, we are a regulated credit reference bureau. We are the only local credit reference bureau in Uganda, and we subscribe to our regulators' policies and rules. That's the Bank of Uganda. We also subscribe to the rules and policies set in place by the Data Protection, Privacy and Protection Office, and we ensure that every SACCO that we work with has consent from their customer. We do not draw the consent from the SACCO, we draw the consent from the end customer, because this data belongs to the end user.
Okay, you've talked about the only,
Yes.
Meaning that there's monopoly right now. You got your license in 2021?
In 2020.
In 2020,
Yes.
With the Bank of Uganda.
Yes, please.
Since then, there's not been any other person entering this business of Credit Reference Bureau.
Yes.
So that monopoly may worry some people in wondering why only you are in business in Uganda.
I would not call it a monopoly. We are not a monopoly. There are other credit reference bureaus, though there is no bureau that is taking the approach that we have taken. Yes. The reason probably why everyone else cannot jump into the space is because of the high levels of risk that are involved with credit. Now, we decided to play in the space that everyone has ignored, which is the last mile. Like I mentioned, SACCOs, credit providers, yes, and these we recognize would serve an area of the population that is unbanked. Yes, so we are only in this space because no one is looking to service this space. We are not a monopoly.
Okay,
Yes.
so gnuGrid is first indigenous of its kind to operate in Uganda. Then this speaks into the fact there's something that you have mentioned in there, something that has been ignored, the last mile.
Yes.
So when it comes to embracing the kind of services that you offer, how are people adopting to it? How are they embracing it?
I would say people are responding positively to it, both the credit providers and the credit consumers, because for the credit consumer, they have realized that the entities that are dealing with the credit reference bureaus, like gnuGrid, are more likely to provide a reasonable priced credit and are not going to steal your information. They are not going to abuse any power that they have over your data. Then for the SACCOs, they now know that they have credible profiles against which they can make business decisions, and this means that they can lend more, both in terms of volumes of loans and also in terms of the value of the loan. Yes, please.
Okay, all right. In the papers today, we had a very interesting story. You do have, that's the Security Exchange Uganda, investor data that was exposed by hackers, and there's an investigation that's ongoing in that. Of course, we're talking about artificial intelligence here that you have to adopt to be able to come up with the reports that you then share with the consumer and those that give those facilities. In terms of protection, safety, and guarding of this data, what commitment does your company have?
Now we commit 100% to safeguard our customers' data, and we have measures that we have put in place beyond compliance, like I mentioned, to the regulators and to the data protection office. We take measures we take measures to safeguard this information based on policies like non-disclosure agreements. We have mechanisms in place for our IT infrastructure to safeguard this information, and we ensure that any information that we get from the customer has to be consented and goes to the customer's actual device. We do not send your information anywhere else except to your phone number. So we limit the number of people who can access your information or any information that is generated using your profile.
Okay, so as a credit reference bureau here in Uganda, you have mentioned SACCOs. We're looking at about 45,000 SACCOs in the country. They do have about 14 million subscribers to them. When it comes to your 4 years of existence as a company indigenously here in Uganda, what would you say is your monitoring and evaluation of the appreciation of your contribution, to safeguard the financing?
Not only for the SACCOs, we also deal with village saving groups, and those are much lower than the SACCOs. So I'll start at that level. There's been a great appreciation for this service, because across the board, from that low level to to the MDIs, they have gotten access to more credit because the providers of funds now know that there is a security in there's a security mechanism for people to use to recover these funds. Because this information is tagged to your national ID profile, everyone knows that your profile is not going to change. So this gives credibility to the profiles and has given a lot of appreciation for the service at the last mile.
Okay, you've talked about recovery. What's the recovery rate that has actually been?
Based on the feedback we get from our partners, we found that the recovery rate are as high as 97% for loans that are pushed through that are backed by the CRB. Yes.
Okay, all right. Now this then asks, we ask the question of what's the prospect of this business towards ensuring that the economic development of Uganda is positive?
This business is going to grow the economy of Uganda. Like I said, the credit business does not only serve the individual, we also serve businesses. So essentially, if businesses can have credible profiles, then they can access money that can stimulate growth. So if you have a meaningful profile, I can give you, I can lend you money with the promise, with the conviction that you will pay, and you can in turn go and do your business, make some money and pay back and improve your livelihood. So
as an individual, I can come to you for services to get me a credit report that I can then use to lobby for funding.
As an individual, we help you know your financial health. Yes, you can get a credit report, you can get a credit score. And of this information, the lenders will be able to lend you that money.
Okay. Yes. What's the difference between a report and a score?
No, a report is more comprehensive. A score is simply a mark. The chances of Priscilla paying are 80%. We cannot tell you, we will not tell you why it's 80% or what other credit Priscilla has out there. A report is a lot more comprehensive. It will tell you why we've come up with that score, the data parameters that have been used, what institutions Priscilla has credit lines running in, yes, and how she is servicing those credit lines.
Okay, yes. All right. In terms of servicing of the bureau and what you do, when it comes to the government, what is the government's role in actually elevating this nature of business in the economy?
The government's role is to regulate. When I say regulate, formulate the policies and also implement the policy. We've seen the Bank of Uganda do this very, very well. We've seen UMRA, that's Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, also do this very well. They're very aggressive in improving the entire credit ecosystem through data. They are ensuring that only money or only credit providers that are licensed are operating, and we are facilitating those credit providers to ensure that the people they access also are able to fulfill their commitments.
Okay, all right. And finally, Mr. Kabenge, what's the commitment of gnuGrid in ensuring that people are credit worthy at the end of the day?
Well, as an entity, we are a growing company. We are very young, so we commit to push this business to every corner of this country. We started off by going outside the central business district, which is Kampala, and we are now opening. We have an office in Mbarara. This is meant to take services much closer to the people. We have developed technologies like chatbots that are meant to take information closer to the people, because well, now more people have access to smartphones, so we are aggressively utilizing those channels. But we are also not going away from the traditional, which is physical engagement. So we are happy to engage in any credit discussion, and we have been present at all levels of this discussion throughout the country. So as a CRB, we commit to bridge we commit to bridge access to credit at the last mile, and then we also we intend to facilitate other credit providers like the banks to basically bring money to the last mile. Banks have mainly been dealing with the corporates. Yes, now we want them to go and deal with the farmer, the mama mboga there down in Akalere, because these people also make a big contribution to the economy.
Okay.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kabenge, and gnuGrid, for those services that you do offer to Ugandans, and hopefully it will definitely alternate people's fate in terms of boosting the economy through boosting their businesses. We're going to be taking a short break. When we return, we're going to be looking into a Kickstarter. Of course, we are going to be having an analysis of the UPC by-election. Also, most recently, the president did have concerns over the violence in the by-elections in Bukedia. That's also going to be on the table for discussion, as well as Uganda's state of politics. Do stay with us.